Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff. Tea's not hot enough to need slurping this evening. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this Sunday evening. Nice and easy, nice and simple live stream this evening where I'm just here to answer your moving questions. So anything you've got, any questions you've got about moving house, that's what I'm here for. And while we wait, sorry, I'm distracting myself and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. While we wait, I wanted to welcome all of my new followers across all the different platforms. Welcome. Lovely to have you here. And if you are watching this on Instagram or TikTok live, welcome and great to have you. I can't see your live chat comments on this particular streaming platform that I use. So if you want to put your live chat comments for me to answer in the live chat during the live stream, you need to be watching on either YouTube or X, or normally LinkedIn, but LinkedIn isn't cooperating this evening for some reason. And for all of you who are new here this evening, let me just quickly recap how I can best help you. So if you are a buyer or a first-time buyer, in the description below, I've put a link to the video playlist of all my first-time buyer advice videos. If you are a seller, I've done the same. In the description below, there is a link to all of my home seller advice. It's a playlist of just those videos. Go and have a good browse through that lot. If you would like to pick my brains in person with a private video call one-to-one for 30 minutes or 60 minutes, you can book that via my website, mhwc.co.uk, or the link below, buy me a coffee as well. If you are a mover and you haven't already watched them, I've also put a link actually just in the live chat to my 10 golden rules for home sellers and 10 golden rules for home buyers. It's in the live chat, but if you search, just Google it on YouTube or anywhere else, Charlie's 10 golden rules for buyers or sellers, and you'll find it. And in each one, it's a relatively short video for the amount of information that it covers. That's a good place to start if you are new here on the channel. Now, I'm hoping that 3.5-minute ramble has given enough time for some of you to start asking some questions. So, good evening, Carlos, Arjibaji, Nick Jones. No, there was no slip. Modi, Reborn Smith, Jack Waldron. Doesn't the tea keep me up? Reborn. It's a long time till I get to go to sleep tonight. Jack Waldron, can I play a tune on the drums? Even if I didn't have sleeping children, it would be unlikely that I'm going to do that on this channel. Although I might do it on my other channel one day, my personal channel. Now, come on, I'm here for your questions. So I want live Q&A. And there are more of you watching on actually, no, it's YouTube. Most of you on YouTube. About half of you, and just over half on YouTube, the other half are watching on X. Do you have any actual moving questions? While I wait for some actual moving questions, let me recap basically the one thing that all movers could do that would massively increase their chances of moving at all, because 2 out of 3 of you don't get to move even when you want to, and B, speeds up the process if you are lucky enough to move. Just get your paperwork and finances ready up front. It's so simple. It doesn't cost you anything. Your paperwork and your finances. So your conveyancing paperwork, your legal paperwork, your proof of funds, your ID, your anti-money laundering checks, all of that time-consuming, time-wasting crap that most people leave until after an offer's accepted. And that just causes at least a month's delay before you even get started. If you do that up front, whether you're buying or selling, you're much more likely to have your offer accepted if you're buying. And you're much more likely to have more buyers wanting to buy your property if you're selling, and you've got your paperwork ready. It's so easy, and it costs you nothing. If you are a committed mover, just get your stuff in order in up front. Right, thank you. Got the first question coming in here. Chris Lever on YouTube says, "Hi Charlie, question, do we just have to trust estate agents when they say they have passed on an offer to the seller? Or is it bad form to ask for some sort of evidence? New home, so can't post a letter." Okay, no, you don't have to just trust them. First of all, if you follow my offer email guidelines, you always offer by email, never on the phone, never in person, but always by email, for a long list of reasons, but chief among them is to avoid being sucked into a negotiation that you are likely to lose. No matter how good you think you are, when you're up against someone that does it all day, every day for a living, unless you are a truly seasoned ninja negotiator, you are likely to lose out. Why? Because you're emotionally invested and they're not. So they will simply play the FOMO trick on you, and it works a lot of the time. But if you do your offer by email, one of the things you should do in the email is ask for an acknowledgement and confirmation that the seller has received the offer. You can ask that by email, right? And if they don't answer, you can chase them up and ask them for an answer. But if you have any doubts about your offer email, and we'll come on to a minute about why might agents not send your offer forward. If you have any doubts, there is no harm whatsoever in printing off your email offer, putting it in an envelope, or doing a handwritten one, putting an envelope and putting it through the letterbox of the person whose house you want to buy. And you can do it, you can word it in such a way that it doesn't cause offense to anybody. Just belt and braces, just wanted to make absolutely certain that you had got my offer and it didn't slip through the agent's net, and that kind of stuff. Because it is astonishingly, it is far more common than a lot of people realize that agents just do not pass offers on to sellers. The list of reasons for this is surprisingly long. It can be sometimes that, believe it or not, some agents are just so disorganized that they never get around to it. I know, it's how they make their money. You think, really? Believe me, I've worked with these guys for a very long time, and not all of them, but there are some who are literally that unprofessional and that disorganized that they never get around to telling the seller, right? They forget. So there's that. Another reason is if it's an estate agent with an in-house mortgage broker and you are a cash buyer, they don't want you to buy a house. They want to sell a house to someone who's going to get a mortgage through them. And if they don't, then they're missing out on a fat mortgage commission. So they frequently do not pass on offers from cash buyers if he's an agent with an in-house mortgage broker they're trying to get you to use. So I would, if you're a cash buyer bidding on a property that's listed with an agent that has an in-house mortgage broker, I would always, if you have any doubts about whether the agent sent it on, always go and stick the email that you're offered to the letterbox. Right. I'm not going to spend too much time on that one. Let's get on to some more questions. RG Bargy asks, do you think after the stamp duty ends that we'll see better reporting by mainstream media on house price falls? Nope. In a word, I don't think that. I think you might see reporting about the market going quiet because agents are already expressing profound fears about how much the market activity is going to drop after the stamp duty deadline. And I've actually got a comment. I wanted to talk about the stamp duty thing because there are sellers of properties below the 300,000 threshold, which is the new threshold for first-time buyers as of the 1st of April, who think they're not affected, but you are. And if I don't answer it now, I'll forget to answer. So just this is why you are, because it's only first-time buyers who have that £300,000 threshold. All other buyers will have to pay stamp duty anyway. And those other buyers, because there's no threshold, they're paying stamp duty. But also, when the stamp duty threshold goes up for people, other buyers, it basically pushes prices down. It depresses prices. Yes, arguably more above the threshold, but that downward pressure on prices does affect everything to a greater or lesser degree. Reborn Smith says, how frowned upon is knocking on someone's door and asking they sell you their house, and how would you price it? I mean, I think knocking on someone's door and asking them straight to their face might sort of be a bit of a curveball. I would always put it in writing and give them a chance to talk to each other about it and come back to you. Just put it through in writing. Knock on the door and say, hey, here's a letter, because don't know if you're selling a house, but I'd be interested, but there's my information, leave it with you. And if they want to chat, you can. But there's nothing wrong with doing that at all. Nothing wrong. In fact, there are houses that are often bought and sold in that way. They're in the extreme minority, but it happens. How would you price it? You price it based on what it's worth to you as a buyer. Assuming you want it as a home, you price it based on what your maximum comfortable price for that property in your circumstances is. That's it. That's the only way you always do it, because that's the best way to ensure you get it. And there's no point in offering less and then not getting it when you would have paid more to get it if you could have. So, but yeah, ways of pricing it, you look around for, ignore everything that's on the market with an asking price, but not under offer. Look at the stuff that's on under offer and look at those asking prices and look a bit below that. But most importantly, offer what it's worth to you. Okay. Martin Powell says, first time buyer with all my ducks in a row. Offer accepted on a nice little flat in Scotland. My solicitor has been waiting 5 weeks for the deeds and paperwork from the vendor side. Is that typical? It's not typical, but it's not uncommon, or it's less common in Scotland, because in Scotland, the vendors have to have all their sale paperwork ready when they come to market. And it's the actual solicitors that do the selling in Scotland as well. So that's unusual for Scotland. I'm not sure I should answer this question. Question from someone whose name I can't read. It says, how do I deal with a spouse who gets so emotional about buying and doesn't care about the economy, overpaying and being taken for a ride, etc., because they just want to own at any cost? Wow, that's actually a very, very good question. This is just off the top of my head, right? My first thing I would do is I would go and point out the rising number of repossessions. I would point out negative equity. I'd point out all the homes on the market that aren't selling when they need to sell. I would look up stories of people who overpaying for property ruined them financially. And I would paint a picture of what happens when you overpay and you need to move a few years down the line. That's what I do. It's a very wise question, because it's incredibly important that you don't rush in and overpay because you're emotional about buying. Nick Jones says, do you think moving to Cornwall as a remote worker will work? If you're a remote worker, it doesn't matter where you go, does it? I mean, if you genuinely can do your job remotely. If you can do your job remotely, why wouldn't you go anywhere in the world you want to go? Tomac on YouTube asks, following the recent ONS average price wipeout, that £22,000 reduction across the board last week, yes, How long will we have to wait for further admissions of the falling market? First time buyer here, need to buy, want to buy, but can wait. Don't wait. It doesn't matter, because the ONS, what they publish, is so outdated and laggy anyway. And if you are buying a home and not an investment, and if you want a home, it just never makes sense to wait. Be out viewing. Don't buy anything you don't want to buy. But if you're not out viewing, your chances of finding a property that you love, where the seller will actually accept your offer, the chances of that happening if you're not out viewing are zero. You cannot and will not get a property that you want to live in at a price you're happy with if you're not out viewing. There is no point in waiting, because the market doesn't fall in unison either. It's weird, and individual properties are weird, and sellers have different situations. So you say you need to buy and you want to buy. There's no point in waiting. If you're saying you need the market to fall because of prices, and therefore you're feeling that what's currently on offer is a bit out of your price range, then start getting more creative with where you look, and also look at stuff that might be that you think might be too expensive for you. But if it's been on the market a long time, you never know whether they might accept your offer or not. And you might have to go and view 10 of these properties that have been on for a long, long time and make your offer, which is for them disappointingly low, until you get one that accepts it. But this does happen constantly. And the reason that it happens is because agents have got sellers who've been sitting on the market so long that the agents have kind of given up, and they're just waiting for the seller to disinstruct them or move on, or whatever it might be. And the agents just stop ringing the seller, and the property just sits there. And no one's viewing it because it's overpriced. And then one day you call up and go, that property found you booked for a long time. It looks expensive, but is it worth coming to view it anyway? And that's when often I speak from the first place I ever bought was like that. Go and view it, and always make your offer. So that's my advice, Tomac. Even if the market's going to keep coming down, don't stop viewing, because you only need one property where the seller goes, you know what, I'm done, I always want out, thank you for your offer, I'll take it. There's no upside in waiting, because there's no guarantee that waiting solves your problem either. Chris, you said you offer by email. Chris is the person who asked earlier about trusting an agent. If you've got any doubts, just pop a letter to the sellers. You've got nothing to lose. Pop a letter to the seller. Ed7115 asks, hi Charlie, question. I'm thinking of changing agents. Good. You definitely should. If you're even contemplating that, you definitely should. Should I relist straight away or take off the market for a couple of weeks? It's a very good question, and you should put that question to the other agents that you're talking about, because the answer to that will depend on a long list of considerations to do with your property: how long it's been on, what price it went on, whether it's had a price drop or not, what the photographs are like, whether they're seasonal, whether there's a seasonal market where you live. All of these things will affect the answer to that question. Some agents might go, I would not wait, I would hurry up if you're selling, because the longer you wait, the weaker the market's going to get. Some of them might go, yeah, wait a couple of weeks. Some of them might say, look, fresh photographs is all you need. So the answer is that provided, which, forgive me, Ed, you clearly didn't do first time around, although you may have tried, provided you actually get the right agent, they will guide you. As long as you say to the agent that moving is important. Yes, of course, everybody wants the best price, but I want to know what offers there are. There's no point sitting on the market with no offers. There's just no point. That's just a massive waste of everyone's time, putting a property on the market with a big price, going, well, that's what I want for it. That's what I want for it. That's what I want for it. And I'm sorry if that annoys those of you out there thinking, but Charlie, what's wrong with that? Why can't we put up for what we want? because it genuinely kind of just kind of clogs the market up, and it genuinely does waste everyone's time, and it makes Rightmove's asking price index look like prices are higher than they really are because of how much stuff just isn't selling. So Ed, you need to choose your, I'm assuming that moving is important, which is why you're considering changing agents. And if your future depends on it, then I would choose your agent like your future depends on it, because it does, as you are finding out the hard way. If you haven't watched it, please go and watch my 10 golden rules for home sellers. There's a link to it in the live chat already near the top, or just go and search for it and you'll find it. And don't ask the new agent how much they think it's worth, because it doesn't matter what they think it's worth, and they won't tell you the truth anyway because they'll be too scared of upsetting you. You should just say to them, I understand that the market will determine the price of my home, so I don't want to talk about price. I just want to see what the market offers. So I'm looking for an agent that will present my property beautifully. So the photographs have got to make it look better than any other comparable properties. Photographs, floor plan. The description needs to be written in such a way that it doesn't just repeat what you can already see in the photographs on a map. That's just stupid. That's a waste of everyone's time. Every line in the description of the property should be telling the reader something that they cannot see in the photographs or on the map, right? It should be giving them complementary information about that house, which you can't see in the photographs. All of these things, especially in a difficult market, are so important. You've got to do everything you can to improve your chances of getting viewings. Patasi Paul says, I will offer using the email template when buying my next house, but if it's rejected and I have to use it again for another house with the same agent, won't they become wise to it? No. Well, agents love that offer template. It makes their job easier. It makes it easy for them to recommend your offer, and it saves them a lot of work. There's no reason why an agent would mind you using that template. Chen Gutu says, appreciation. This is nice. Chose a good agent with your advice. Set asking price correctly and below some similar flats to ours. Many viewings and accepted offer 25k above asking price. I would like to show you my appreciation for actually listening to me, because 90% of sellers do not listen to that advice. 90% of sellers go, I'm just going to put that high price that I really want and hope that I find that one buyer, and I'm going to ignore the fact that if I don't get competing bidders through the door, I won't find out the best price of my property. I cannot tell you. You can see my reaction is absolutely, completely true, right? It feels so good when I see someone take my advice and it proves the point. And what Chen's comment proves is that it doesn't matter what the asking price is, right? As in terms of getting the price you want, it matters that it's not too high, but people get too worried about pricing too low and thinking, well, we won't get above that. So many viewings and accepted an offer 25k above asking price. It always works. It always works. It's just how all markets work. It makes me so happy. It makes me so happy, Chen. Honestly, thank you. I'm just going to screenshot your comment. I'm going to post it elsewhere because that's just brilliant news. Hi, Mdadol. Philip Thompson. Nick Jones says, does the Stig control the house prices with a red button? Good question. Cheryl Lambert says, I recently offered and got rejected. Buyer went with a higher offer. Do you mean seller? Estate agent told me they weren't obliged to tell me what was the highest offer. No, they're not. I didn't offer again, as I would have been offering blindly. Well, Cheryl, that's fine. as long as you offered your maximum comfortable price first time out. If you didn't, then you might have lost the property avoidably. If you would have paid a bit more and you'd made that offer first time out, you might have got it. I don't know, because I don't know what the numbers are, but this is why I always say offer your maximum comfortable price first and final offer in that email template. And guys, for those of you who are wondering what email template I'm talking about, it's my first time buyer offer email template. There's also a cash buyer one. Just search MHWC offer email and you'll find it. Philly TTT says, would a good conveyancer help negotiate your price down if survey brings back red flags? Hole in roof, large trees causing ground issues, etc. Would like someone experienced and to help renegotiate the offer. So Philly, in a word, the answer to that question is no. Conveyancers are not there to deal with survey issues or property condition issues. They are only there to deal with the processing the paperwork, the legal side of it. They don't negotiate on your behalf and they can't negotiate on your behalf. It must always be you that renegotiates it, and you've got to work it out. But just what I always say to people is just be reasonable. And what I mean by that is, imagine you're on the other side, right? If you wanted to if you're the person on the other side and you were selling that house and the buyer got a survey with all those issues on there and said, look, I don't want to be unreasonable here, but I think can we price these things in? Because that's what, and just, you need to decide what you're comfortable paying for that property with those problems. And you say, that's my revised offer and that's that. And you don't need anyone to help you with that. It's very, very important that you decide what you're comfortable paying and what you're not comfortable paying and set it at that. I mean, you can always ask your conveyancer to send the email for you, but you have to instruct them and say, could you please relay that I'm no longer prepared to go ahead on the original price. I now want to go ahead on this new price because of those issues. John HS asks, I'm considering putting multiple offers in on properties with different agents. Anything I need to be aware of before doing so? My first reaction to that is always be transparent about it, because if you're not, and it emerges that you're doing that, then you will not be taken seriously. They won't want to show you properties, and you'll kind of get ignored or blacklisted by the agents. It's perfectly okay if you find more than one property that you like to say to the first agent, I'm offering on this property. I have seen another property that I like, and if this is rejected, I'm going to offer on that one. So how long is reasonable to wait? If it's more than 48 hours, I don't want to risk losing that one. So I will put it off on that one to see which one gets accepted first. Just be transparent. They may or may not like it, but then they know where they stand. Okay, and you know where you stand. Don't think that you can go running around all over town just chucking in really, really low offers on lots of properties and just waiting for some lucky. That's not how this ever works, right? You will be found out very, very quickly if that's what you're doing. And the agents do talk to each other, and you'll quite quickly get kind of the cold shoulder and blackballed and not included anymore. So I'm not saying don't do it, just be transparent about it. Amber Hadley says, question, I called an agent to ask if I could view a property that has been on the market since August last year, even though it's 95,000 over my budget. The agent said the vendor won't accept anything less than 30K under. You haven't asked a question, but I think I know what you're asking here. Have they refused to show it to you, or are you asking what you should offer? So this is a classic case of disregard the guff, right? It's quite interesting. If an agent has volunteered, the vendor won't accept anything less. Like, can you tell me what the asking price is on that property, right? So it's 95k over your budget, but they were just listen, just say, look, until I see it, I can't decide. Let me see it. When you see it, make your offer, because agents always say what the vendor will and won't accept, but agents don't know, because until the vendor actually gets a real offer, especially if they haven't had any, even sellers often don't know what they will or won't expect. And if that seller gets your offer at 95,000 under asking price, which is 65,000 less than they want, but it's the only offer, they might have to come to terms with that reality. Well, Lee, it depends on the asking price, doesn't it? If it's a 900, there are plenty of houses that are over 100 grand too expensive. Plenty, loads of them. I mean, basically, everything above 500,000 is at least 20% overpriced. There are some exceptions. The ones that sell quickly are priced correctly, but all that stuff over 500,000 is pretty much 20% overpriced, generally speaking. If it's been sitting there for a while, right? The stuff that isn't overpriced sells. Everything else sits there. Ant H on X says, took your advice 2 years ago. Wicked. Dropped 25,000 after seeing a video of yours and sold within weeks to a cash buyer, now in dream home. Amazing. Thank you so much for letting me know about that, Ant. By the way, there are more of you watching on X than there are on YouTube, but all the comments are coming from YouTube. So if you're watching on X, would you just say hi, just so I know that that it's working? Because I know that we've got Ant here is commenting, but there are over 200 of you on X watching right now, so it'd be cool to say hi. Wow, this is a brave admission. Emmanuel Ovi says, just bought our first home 8 months ago, and I think we have overpaid at 399,000 in Leigh-on-Sea, Essex. Should have followed your template for first-time buyers, but my spouse's emotions took a greater part of us, and we were in a hurry after nearly 2 years waiting for the right home. But prices then just kept creeping up, so we thought. Now I see it differently. Well, all I can say is I hope you like the home. That's the most important thing. Secondly, if you're staying there for a long time, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But thirdly, it's very kind of you to share this with us, because so many buyers get what I call deal fever, where you get so laser focused and myopic and you get tunnel vision about just get it done, get it done, get it done. I don't care if we're overpaying, get it done. Which is why I often say overpay in haste and repent at leisure. Lee is laughing at people who think they can get a bargain. People can get bargains. Everyone who wants to follow the procedure will be able to get a property at a better price than people who just go in and throw themselves into the mincing machine and get chewed up and spat out by the system. I don't know why it's laughing. It's like, why shouldn't all buyers want to get the best deal they can? That's why they're here. Are you a seller, Lee? What's your position? Are you an agent? Chris Lever makes the point, sometimes you don't really know your maximum price until it's been rejected. That is a very, very good point, which is why I often say, when you are formulating that number, imagine the scenario where it's rejected and you find out that someone else paid $2,000 more than you and got it. Imagine that scenario, and imagine, what would you say to yourself? Well, I'm glad we didn't pay that $2,000 because it would have been too much. Or would you say, we would have paid that $2,000? And if the answer is yes, then add that $2,000 to your offer, your maximum comfortable price. Patasi Paul says, as a seller, do you not have the right to the buyer's survey so you can have knowledge of the issues that are negative and the buyer wants a price reduction? If not, how do you know that they're telling the truth and don't just want money off? You don't have a right to it, no. However, most buyers will be happy to share the details of a survey. I mean, I can't think of a reason why a buyer wouldn't do that. And if a buyer is not voluntarily sharing the survey results with you to support their reason for renegotiating, I'd be asking why. Patasi Paul, is that a situation that you've got where someone's saying, we've had a survey, it's got problems, we want to reduce money, but we're not showing you the survey? That sounds like bullshit to me. Forgive me, guys, I'm not doing house price stuff tonight. I really want to do mover Q&As. Jat Life says, I went to view a property and wanted to book a second viewing. The estate agent stated that they need to know what I'm going to offer. Disregard the guff. Your answer should be, well, I don't know until I've had my second viewing. Simple as that. I don't know until I've had my second viewing. That's all you can say. I just, do not get sucked into offer negotiations, because this is what they do, right? Agents will, let's just say you'd say, well, actually, I'd still want to do the second viewing, but maybe we're going to offer 250,000. That agent will then turn around to otherwise say, well, we've got an offer of 250,000 when you haven't made it yet. They're doing their job, right? They will exaggerate and they'll imply, but they'll use the FOMO on someone else to get their offer and then tell you, oh, sorry, it's not enough. So hold your ground. Do not be rushed into offering. And in that scenario, if an agent said that to me before the second viewing, said, well, until I viewed it, I don't even know if I'm going to offer a second. I'm going to offer at all. I need to view it again. Remember, you are in control of your own decision making. Do not be pushed around by agents. Philip Thompson says, hi, Charlie, do I need to request the deeds of my house now the mortgage is paid off? This is not my area of expertise, Philip, but I'm pretty certain that once your mortgage is paid off, that will automatically happen. The title deeds will be updated, the mortgage has been satisfied. But the very simple thing to do is just go to the land registry and download a copy of your own title deeds. It's a couple of quid. I don't know how much it is. Like it's a few pounds, but you can get the latest copy of your title deeds from the land registry and see whether or not the title deeds have been updated. Bogdan Tudorake says, how far away should exchange and completion be from one another? They can and often are done on the same day. Simultaneous exchange and completion on the same day. Remember, always, if you're buying, always go and inspect the property the day before exchange, right? And if there's a big gap to completion, you want to go look at it again that day as well. If you've got any doubts about how the seller might leave it, right? Because there are horror stories where you exchange contracts and find out that actually they've ripped stuff out of the wall, they've done all kinds of stuff, and it's too late. You've got no grounds to go back. So, but how far? Often, there are, for example, with new builds, sometimes people exchange contracts and don't complete for over a year. So, it's typical to be a week or two between exchange and completion, but it tends to depend on the buyers and sellers' circumstances. But it can be same day, or it can be a delayed completion if you and the seller both agree it. Yeah, Jim Bob, you don't need to request your deed. Anyone, by the way, any one of us can go and download the title deeds of any property. It's land registry, you can just go there and do it. It's public information. El Poodle says, looking at a house on the market for 12 months, £1.2 million for 6 months, and then £1.1 million for 6 months. Is 900,000 a silly offer? That's a very good question. And my initial reaction is no, not at all. It's not a silly offer at all. Because it's been on the market for a year. The fact that they did lower the price means that they are looking to sell it. And it's quite possible that they don't want to publicly reduce the price anymore, but would accept offers. You don't know. Maybe they're not. I've got no idea. If £900,000 is your maximum that you'd afford for that property, then it would be silly to offer any more than that. Always make your offer. But El Poodle, have you viewed that house or not yet? It'd be interesting to know. But in a nutshell, the answer is no, it's not silly. If it's been on the market for a year and you're offering 20% or something below asking, for stuff that's been on a year, that's not silly at all. I mean, you no idea whether or not they're going to accept it, but always make your offer. Nick Jones asks, I have an offer for my house, but should I sell and then rent and then buy, or be in a chain? My answer to that is it's always better to not be in a chain if that option is available to you, right? Because put yourself in a seller's position. What are you more likely to accept as a seller? A buyer who's not in a chain or a buyer who is in a chain? So this is I've done a whole video on this topic, by the way, but there are a number of reasons why I think you should always sell separately to buying. Never mind the timing of it. First of all, it improves the chances of your sale going through faster. But secondly, it also means you're likely to get a better price on both situations, right? If you're selling with no onward chain, that improves the chances of you getting competing bidders and therefore improves the chance of you getting more money and selling more quickly if you're selling without a chain. And if you're buying without a chain and you're able to move straight away if someone accepts your offer, you're more likely to have your offer accepted. So that's why when it's done well, selling and buying separately can actually net you 10, 15% better deal overall than otherwise. It has its risks, of course, and it has the added friction and costs of 2 moves, not 1. But if the option's open to you, it's always better to move not in a chain. Daz Wayne asks a lettings question. Is it easy to go from tenants in common to joint tenancy? That's going to be, I mean, if it's accepted, I don't think you can force that on someone, but you ask, and if it's a yes, then yes, it's pretty easy. But I think if you're trying to supersede an existing tenancy agreement, they don't have to allow you to do that. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap that up now, unless we have any last minute questions. Anyone's question that I've missed? Anyone got a burning desire to ask me a question that I haven't answered? If not, I'm just going to remind you. By the way, for those of you who are watching me now, you guys watching live are my super fans, my real supporters, and I really appreciate your time and your attention watching these videos. I have got some important news coming soon, and I'm going to share it with my most sort of loyal and long-term followers first. And the easiest way for me to do that is with the newsletter. So if you're not already subscribed to the newsletter, which I'm just trying to get the link to it. I can't find it. Where is it? It's mhwc.co.uk/newsletter. There it is. If you're not already subscribed to the newsletter and you would like early heads up of my important news, which I think will be interesting to those of you who've been my most supportive followers, then please make sure you have joined the newsletter. You can sign up to it there. If you are new here and thinking to yourself, okay, Charlie, how do I get myself really well prepared? Get a conveyancer lined up in advance, and you can do that with my guys here. Or make sure you get your mortgage lined up as well in advance, and you can do that with my guys on the other URL, which is this one, mhwc.co.uk/mortgage. Other than that, sellers, stop overpricing. That's just reminded me of one more point I wanted to make, by the way. And buyers, don't overpay. But the point I wanted to make is this. Something I hear quite frequently from sellers who are not being successful in selling and thinking of changing agent and thinking of doing this, that, or the other. It's what I never hear is, we've obviously overpriced it. And there is obviously an inherent reluctance to admit that for obvious reasons. But in 99% of cases, no matter how much you have convinced yourself that you haven't overpriced it, if you're not getting viewings, you're asking too much money. Now, there could also be a problem with the marketing. If your agent is rubbish and they've done crap photographs, they haven't marketed it properly, that will also be a reason that you're not getting viewings. But I'm assuming that you get your marketing done properly, right? So it's either a problem with the marketing or a problem with the price, usually both. Because what most uninitiated sellers do is they go with an agent with a cheap fee, which is always a mistake, because that agent will not do quality marketing details to the standard you really should have them. And therefore, they will not get the number of buyers through the door and the number of viewings you want. And most likely, agents with cheap fee, those are the ones that are most likely to overprice. Lee says, no, Charlie, I'm not an estate agent or a seller. A house is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. But I love people who just comment, I can't afford it, but I want to view it. It's not worth what they've... I mean, I still don't get why you think that's... You know, there's a reason that 80% of the properties on the market aren't selling. And it's because they're not worth what the seller wants for it. So this is why I don't understand why you're laughing at the buyers saying, can I still go and view it? It's the other way around. I would be laughing at the sellers sitting there for months on end, laughing at the buyers, going, ha, 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 no, you have to offer my asking price. And they can't sell. I just find it odd that like, that is why this marketplace is so dysfunctional. Oh, we've got more questions coming now. When an agent says there's no room for negotiation, guff, disregard it. It may perhaps be true. It almost always isn't true, but it shouldn't affect what you offer anyway. Okay? So Joshua says, hi, Charlie, first time buyer looking at new builds. Brave person. Asking price, 292,000. 5% contribution going to indie mortgage lender. Oh, sorry, 5% contribution. Well, honestly, that's like, no. You take 5% off the price, please. Hold really firm on that. Honest, excuse my French, but fuck your 5% contribution. Take 5% off the price. I mean, is that 5% contribution making the difference between buying it and not buying it? Are they calling that a deposit contribution? Is that what's enabling you to get a mortgage on it? Because it's scam territory. It's not illegal, but it is total scam, because what they're doing is they're artificially inflating the price of the stock they are selling and making you borrow more to pay that extra 5%, right? Indie mortgage broker, cool. 2.3%, great. 2 years, what's it going to be after the 2 years? Ooh, agent said no room for negotiation, worth a lower offer. Right. It's always the same answer, which is offer the maximum you're comfortable paying. Don't offer any more than that. Ignore what the asking price is. Ignore what the agent says. Just make your offer, right? The agents always say, oh, the vendor won't take less than 30 grand below asking. Oh, the seller's not going to negotiate. Just la, it's guff. You offer what you want to offer. They decide whether to accept it or not. Disregard all the manipulation attempts that come out of the agent's mouth, right? The agent works for the seller and they will only say things that are interests of the seller. And so you just ignore it, right? Either your offer's enough or it's not. Make sure your offer is gold plated. You got everything in place. But just, I mean, Joshua, I would say that you got to take 5% off. Like straight away, you got to take 15 grand off that price, right? 277, 275. I mean, straight immediately, because they've just admitted it's 5% overpriced. Yeah, but Lee, so she's looking at homes above her price range, expecting the seller to take 100. It happens. It happens. As Ant H says, it's what it's worth to the buyer. No, it doesn't matter what's worth to the seller, because it might be worth it to the seller, but the seller can't sell at that price. So it's only worth what the buyer will pay, which means it's worth what it is to the buyer. So she's the buyer. It doesn't matter what the seller wants. How do we know the property wasn't on offer for 650 and then dropped to 500? She's trying to offer 400. So what? If it's been dropped and it still isn't selling, there aren't any other offers. Make your offer. Quite right, Amber. You hold your ground. You don't pay more than you are comfortable paying for that property. And if you do, it's a mistake. Right. God, it's funny how the viewing numbers are going here. Do we have any more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night. There's my website, everybody, mhwc.co.uk. You can find my help there, different ways of me helping you. There's also a link to my link tree in the link below. And again, if you are a long-time regular viewer of the channel and you're interested to hear in advance about my news in respect of Best Agent, make sure you sign up to the newsletter. Otherwise, I wish you all a very peaceful Sunday night's sleep. Here's the slurp, Nick. But it's cold, and slurping cold tea just isn't the same. Hi, Lisa. Right, that's it. I'm calling it. Have a good